Hi everybody, my name is Emily and here is a new tutorial for aetextplus.com. Let's have a look at what we're gonna do with this tutorial. Okay, so we're gonna see how we can make this green grass effect, and to do this I use Trapcode Particular, the second version, and it will also work with the first one. But if you don't have Trapcode Particular at all, you can go on the redgiantsoftware.com and find Trapcode Particular, and you'll be able to download a trial version to do this tutorial. So basically we're gonna begin this tutorial by the generation of all those orange particles, and then those orange particles will emit new particle with the auxiliary system of Trapcode Particular, and this will generate the grass. So let's begin by the creation of a new composition. Right click in your project window, new composition, name it main, and make it 1074 by 576. We're gonna use square pixels, and 25 frames per second will be okay. If you want to use a different frame rate, of course you can, and 30 seconds will be okay. So in this new composition we'll create the background. Right click in your composition, new, solid, name it background, make it comp size, and the color doesn't matter because we're just gonna add a new ramp on it. So go on in your effects and presets window, type ramp, and you'll find ramp in the generate. Take it and put it on your layer. Here in the bottom we would like to have a white, and in the bottom we need a green, 100 for the hue, 50 for the saturation, and 100 for the brightness. Okay, you can push it down to have something like this. So this is for the background. Now we need a new solid to create our particles. Name it particles, make it comp size, and the color doesn't matter. Now we need particular, double click on it, and here is Trapcode Particular. So what we need is to create kind of a field with particular going from the bottom to the air. So for the moment we just have particles going everywhere. So we need to have a lot of particles at the beginning and then no particles at all. So click on the clock right there to activate the animation with keyframes, and if you select your layer and hit U on your keyboard, you will see your keyframe. Here we need almost 10,000 particles, and one frame later we don't need particles anymore. So as you can see here, we've got a lot of particles and then no particles are emitted anymore, and this is creating kind of a sphere. So what we would like is having more something like a box, and as you can see here, now we've got a box, but it's much too small. it's really too small. So we're gonna fix this, playing with the emitter size X and Y, make it 3000 on the X axis and 3000 on the Y axis. So now we've got a box, and we don't need it to be very high, so make it 0 on the Z axis. Now you can't really see your box, but if you rotate it here with this X rotation, you can see that we've got a very thin rectangle with all our particles, and this is what we need. Make it 90 degrees. Okay, so nothing at the beginning, 10,000 particles, then no particles anymore. And because this is a uniform direction, the particles are going everywhere, but we want them to go, as I said, from the bottom to the air to create then our grass with the auxiliary system. We're gonna fix this with the physics part here in particular, and we're gonna add some air resistance and some gravity. Because we turn it here in the emitter, we put it 90 degrees, we need a minus 50 gravity and not a 50 gravity. Now they are going up, and this is exactly what we need. So we're gonna change the color of this first particle, because as you've seen at the beginning of this tutorial, we want them to be orange. If at the end of this tutorial you don't want to have those orange particles, it will be very easy to erase them. Okay, so go back in the particle, the color, set the color at birth, and choose an orange, maybe 40, 190 hits. Okay, we have our particles. If you want, you can add some randomness for the size, for example, 50% randomness, so you can see all the particles haven't the same size anymore. It's quite better, and we can do the same with the opacity. Okay, so now we're gonna add the auxiliary system to create to really create the grass. So go in the auxiliary system and turn it on continuously, because we need the orange particles to emit continuously green particles to create the grass. So you can see that the orange particles are emitting new particles. So I just forget something in the particle part. 3 seconds for the life is a bit short. Maybe we can push it to 15. And we'll do the same for the particles in the auxiliary system, and the life will be 15 too. So the orange particles are emitting from the beginning to the end till 15 seconds, and then the particles are disappearing. So the color is important for the auxiliary system, and we're gonna change it right there in the color of a life options. So we can select this preset, which is quite good, and just make it as you like. We're gonna choose a green with 85 for the hue, 100 for the saturation, and only 80 for the brightness. And this will be cool. Okay, we are very close to what we need. So not to see those dots anymore, we just need to emit much more particles per second in the auxiliary system. Let's put 100 particles per second, and as you can see, it creates kind of a grass effect. It's quite good. So what we need now is maybe a new camera to see it better. I'm gonna use the camera in my previous comp. It will go faster. Paste it right there, and here is our grass. Okay, so we'll just have to make some more arrangements to fix it. So for the camera, just put the X rotation to 8 degrees to look up, and for the position something like minus 2000 on the D axis to see it well. So now I add a movement, but you can add it like you want. So go back to our particles in the auxiliary system. We're gonna change the size of our particles maybe, and the size of our life. So we want the grass to be thinner at the beginning and at the end, or just at the end. And to do this, we're gonna use these presets. As you can see, this is thinner at the end of the grass, maybe much more thinner, something like this will be okay. So maybe gonna use a size of 8, and this won't change. Randomness, I'm gonna change the opacity. We had some randomness in the opacity, about 20. Okay, and now push the opacity to 80 to see it better. It's quite good. Okay, so we've got the idea, and maybe we're gonna push it down a little bit, and okay, so we're gonna add some wind. We've already added some air resistance, and now we're gonna add some wind X, about 50. Oops. It's okay. A bit too much. 58 maybe. And in the auxiliary system, maybe something thinner. And here we got our grass. It works. So now what's important is to stop it to grow, because it won't stop till 15 seconds. So maybe when we are about 10 seconds, we've got enough grass. Maybe before. Around 9 seconds, we're gonna stop this. So go back in particular in the physics part and find the physics time factor, activate the animation with the keyframes, select your layer, hit the U on your keyboard. You can see here the first keyframe, and maybe 10 or 20 or 30 frame later you can put it to 0 and select your keyframe. F9 to ease the keyframe. Doesn't matter. So now at the end it stops. It stopped growing. So this is all we need for the first shot, except one thing. If you want to add, like I did, a lens flare, right click in your composition, new, solid, name it lens flare. Oops. Make it comp size and make it black. It's okay. Now we've got our lens flare right here and here. Type lens to find the lens flare in generate. Double click on it, and we're gonna use a 35mm lens flare. We're gonna put it in the corner, change the transfer mode to add, and here we go. Gonna put it right there. If you want, you can animate it a little bit from the beginning. Click on the clock right here, U to reveal your keyframes, and we can make it go from this position to this one maybe. Okay, so this is for the first part of the animation. This is for this shot and this one. I just played with the flare, the intensity, and the brightness to make the transition. And so I won't explain you how to do this, because this is the same as the first shot here. So now let's do the final shot. So this is quite the same thing. We're gonna keep the background and the lens flare, but not the particles and not the camera. Okay, so we're gonna create a new solid to make the new particles right there, and we're gonna use a mask. I've got one here, and this mask is quite simple. I just add a text in a black in it, and we're gonna use this mask to animate our particles. So just add particular on your new layer, and we're gonna use the option here in the emitter called layer. And to use this option, we have to make it 3D, because it only works with 3D layers. And now in the In the emitter, just here select your mask and make it current time. And if you don't want to use the color of your mask for the particles, just select none, and in the particles you'll be able to change here the color, and we need kind of an orange. Okay, so we need a lot of particles at the beginning. Hit U to see the keyframes, and here we need 90,000 particles, and 10 keyframes later or less, just put it to 0. So you can see that we see a test plus because it's using our mask to emit the particles. So it's okay. The emitter is done. We don't need randomness at all, and the velocity can be only 40. Okay, and for the particles, just make it 10 seconds. The size 4. The opacity random 100. And we're gonna use glow sphere. Okay. Here is for the particle, and we need to change some options in the physics part. We need those particles to go in the air and then go down a little bit. So we're gonna add some wind on the y-axis, about maybe -120. So you can see they're going up, and now we want them to go down a little bit with maybe a little bit of gravity here, about 30. So now our particles are going up and then down. So we'll stop them when we need it. So I just forget one thing in the emitter, and it's quite important. In the layer emitter, layer sampling, just select particle burst time. And now the auxiliary system, just turn it on continuously, like for the first shot. And it works quite well. We need to put the life 2.5 seconds. Will be okay. We need 200 particles per second. The size 2.5, the opacity 30, and color of a life, just do something like this, or like we did before. And opacity over life is important too. Just do something like this. Okay, and when you think you've got enough grass, around maybe 30 seconds, something like this, just go in physics, find the physics time factor, hit the clock. Here you can see our keyframe, and 1 second later or less, put it to 0 to stop the grass growing. Okay, so now you just have to play with the options to have exactly what you want, and maybe we can add a camera and so on to make a zoom like this. And to have exactly what you want, you can change the color of the life of the auxiliary system particles. And this is it. This was a new tutorials for aetextplus.com. I'm Emily, and please feel free to leave your comments.